Hello, Musto0063 back, and we're picking up right where we left off after the weapon get screen on the 8th Robot Master. Dr. Light, what happened? Is that you, Mega Man? Base went berserk after I completed his repairs. He stole the parts for the new enhancements. Base? I can't believe it!
Believe it, Mega Man. Bass and treble are my creations. I knew that you would be stupid enough to trust him and allow him access to the lab. Now Bass and Treble will use the enhancement meant for you and Rush.
I'll make you pay, Wily. So, yes, of course, letting Bass and indeed Treble into Dr. Light's lab was clearly not a good idea. Mega Man gets burned once again. And here we are, obviously, having beaten all 8 Robot Masters at the Wily Fortress. And there is only one this time, so we say no mislead, no Cossack Proto Man, Mr. X running wild, whatever, just the one fortress. And here we're kicking off with Wily 1. Now, what I will say kind of up front, well, again, this is, I should also say that this is kind of unscripted commentary now, so we're kind of off the cuff again. I'm not relying on any scripts or whatever, so it's going to be going through, commentating, yeah, off the cuff and naturally. So, as we're going to go through the first screen a little bit, I would just like to say that this fortress is probably one of the most epic, if not the most epic, of the entire Mega Man Classic series. It's also possibly, I would consider, one of the hardest. Not least for some of the boss fights. But we'll get to that a bit later. Here we have, I should talk about this bit, since the timing kind of sucks there, a platform section, and as you can see, they kind of rotate on these little cycles, and if you stand on the platform, the lights go out. So you need to kind of keep jumping in order to see where you're going. And when the track goes away, they kind of spin and fall through, and you obviously, if you're standing on at that point in time, you'll fall through the platform as well. So they give you kind of a taster there, so it's not too bad there, but a bit later, oh, it's going to be a problem. And onto this screen again with those blowing enemies and giant Pippi, and the other gimmick as well, where again, if you step on the floor, the lights are off, so you have to kind of continually jump in order to see where you're going. So I actually made a bit of a mistake there on this screen by dropping down. I should have stayed on the ladder so I could easily hit that enemy, trio the wheel, but I failed to do so. In order to get across, you'll either need to use Rush Coil, or as I did there, pull out Super Adapter, and it works rather well. So yeah, here again we've got the platforms on the tracks, and again you can see the lights go out when you step on them, so or indeed any other platform. So yes, you will need to continually jump in order to see where you're going. And of course this time you're over pits, so much more important that you definitely time your jumps well, and that you don't obviously fall through the areas of the tracks where they're going to spin, because you will be plummeting to your death. And on that last little bit there, take out that enemy very quickly. If it shoots at you while you're standing on still on that little bit of track, then all likelihood you're going to get hit and you're going to get knocked off. Here, depending on which half of the screen you're on, it could be kind of deadly falling through these things or not. There are spikes on the left-hand side. If you're on the right, you might get lucky and obviously land on safe ground. But yeah, still time everything well. There's not a lot of margin for error here. On this screen, be careful here if you go for that energy tank. Don't use Rush Coil, you'll go into the spikes. You can use Rush Jet like I did there, or Super Adapter, although you will have to get rid of it in order to slide through. You are far too weak, Mega Man. Wily may fear you, but I do not. Sure about that? My Super Adapter and Rocket Punch is going to absolutely cream you. Take that. Round 1 goes to you, Mega Man. But I'll be back when I've performed a complete self-repair system. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about Bass in a bit more detail, but as he just suggests there, he will be back, and we are very, very close to the end of the level. No, that wasn't the end boss of the level, but yeah, we've got a few of these cockroach generators to take out, and then we really are at the final level, so I will deal and come back to Bass a little bit later. Here's the boss of Wily 1. Gutsman G. Yes, it's probably about time that the version of Guts or whatever that Wily stole from the Robot Museum came to town, so yeah, here we are. What he does, he fires these rocks at you, which you can obviously see. You have to time pretty well, actually, in order to jump over them. If you mistime it so the rock goes into you, you take a hell of a lot of damage. If you're standing on the rock, when it gets thrown into the wall, you will also take a hell of a lot of damage. You also have to be wary of, obviously, the rock coming down from the ceiling, so I tend to stand all the way over to the left-hand side of the screen in order to avoid the rock falling down. If you're over any further to the right, then it can fall on your head, and again, that does pretty massive damage. His weak spot is his head, so kind of hit away at that. He has one other attack, which he's about to show off now, which is really annoying, because I was on for a no damage run here, which is also why I didn't pull out his weapon weakness. But yeah, I was so close to getting a no damage run on this stage. Not a perfect run, and I wasn't necessarily going for it, but since it was there on offer, I almost got it. Really annoying. But yeah, he charges at you and flings you into the ceiling if he catches you. That does massive damage, as you can see as well. In terms of weakness, the weakness is Slash Claw, but you have to get really up close to him and you have to kind of slash him in the face. You're likely to take damage just by A, being really close to him, and B, rocks falling on your head. So as I said, because I was on for a no damage run there, I decided I'd hang back to the left and try and Mega Buster him. But yeah, Slash Claw is a good way to go. And this is rather interesting, actually. So that was Wily 1 beaten. Once it's beaten, we come back to the stage select screen. So if you so choose, you can go off to any of the Robot Master stages. You could also go to the shop and stock up on energy tanks or whatever if you happen to use them. The other brilliant thing that happens here is, unlike other Fortress stages, because you get kicked out to the stage select screen, and in theory you could go to the shop or anywhere else, if you pause the game or whatever, as I'm about to do here, and select something, you'll notice that everything is full. So if you had used Slash Claw on that boss and drained that the weapon meter for that, when you go into Wily 2, it will be completely full. So that does make the fortress a little bit easier. It's still a bloody hard fortress, but compare that with certainly Mega Man 2, I think probably being the classic example where for one particular boss you have to expend pretty much all your Crash Bomber energy, and then you're stuffed next time around because you've got no real way of refilling it. But Mega Man 7, Wily Fortress, they're nice enough to kick you back to the stage select screen, if you will, and all your stuff is refilled, and that does make things a little bit easier. Not the fortress is easy at all. So yeah, this is Wily 2, and all I'm going to say is that Super Adapter is hella useful in pretty much all the Wily Fortresses. So if you don't have it, then it's not impossible, but wow, is it ever going to make your life easy. I got hit quite a few times at the beginning of the level there. One of the sleighs or whatever, just or bulb sleighs, or the bomb thing kind of just rammed into me, and it knocked me back sufficiently so that I then spawned the damn thing back on the screen. So and I took a really clumsy hit there to the Sniper Joe, which was not good. But there's enough kind of health lying around, and for the most part, the levels are not too bad. Super Adapter will be super helpful, but I guess what does make this fortress really difficult is probably the bosses more so than the levels per se. And speaking of bosses, get out Super Adapter. You're probably going to need it. My wait is over. This time the mighty Mega Man shall fall. Treble, attack! So Bass merges with Treble, a little bit like obviously Mega Man merges with Rush, and he now has a kind of a Super Adapter form of his own. But my Super Adapter also works extraordinarily well, and again I do a pretty good job of creaming Bass. But if you do get hit here, it deals mega damage, so do be careful. While we're on the subject, if you don't have Super Adapter or Rocket Punch, which is what I'm kind of using here, here's where I normally take my one hit, then you do have some other options. Noise Crush, Shade Man's weapon. Let me pause here for a moment, sorry. Why? Why can't I destroy him? I'm sure my consistency of bass's voice throughout this game has completely changed. It may have even changed during this that last minute or so, but oh well. Yeah, as I was saying, Noise Crush, Shade Man's weapon, is his actual weakness. So when he kind of feigned a little bit of kind of, you know, of his failure during Shade Man's stage, where he was kind of like during that cutscene saying, "Oh, I failed, I was weak," blah blah blah. Shade Man is actually the Robot Master who would be able to, you know, take him down quite well, because it is actually his weakness. So yeah, if you don't have the Super Adapter or Rocket Punch, that's probably the way to go. Although Thunderbolt actually does a reasonably nice job as well. But moving on, and I appreciate I'm not talking too much about the levels here, but yeah, I think the boss fight is probably the most interesting part of the Fortress stage. Although this bit's certainly worth talking about, and indeed much of the rest of the level. We've got these annoying fire things from Turbo stage, and well, I say I would thoroughly recommend Super Adapter. It makes life so much easier. If you don't have it, then you're resorting to Rush Coil, you know, Rush Jet in that kind of a tight area is going to be really problematic, because as soon as it hits the wall, it's going to go away. So yeah, you, like I said, you really want Super Adapter when going through these stages. But yeah, once you clear that first fire area, the rest isn't too bad. I did decide to pull out the Super Adapter here again, just to make my life a little bit easier. But you can do this with just, you know, regular platforming, as long as you're careful and obviously just time things out well. But as I say, with the Super Adapter, it makes short work of the level pretty nicely. And that brings us to our second boss. A giant turtle whose name I've completely forgotten before I did this commentary, so my bad. And this fight's going to go on for quite a while. I might put an annotation up or something to just to say what the blooming thing's name is, but yeah, anyway. He has, well, he's very interesting. So he starts off the fight by breathing, you know, spitting out fire, and you really want to avoid that. If you get caught in that, works a little bit like, you know, getting caught on the fire by the scorch wheel from you know, in Turbo's fight. So yeah, you kind of take a hit and you kind of stay hit for about 5 or so seconds while you burn. So yeah, avoid that at all costs. After that, he then goes into a shell and charges at you across the room, back and forth, and that seems, the amount of times he does that seems to be completely random. Sometimes he'll do it only once, i.e. once to the left-hand side and once back. Sometimes he does it like 4 or 5. I'm not saying there he only did it once. I'm sure later on during this fight he does it about 4 times in a row. And obviously, you know, you just need to keep sliding underneath him, which trying to do very, you know, often in very quick succession can be kind of annoying. Once he's kind of done that move and breathed more fire at you, he will go away. He'll rise up completely off the top of the screen and send out a bunch of kind of turtles at you, which come out in 3 patterns. So you'll notice that on top of their little door, you're probably going to see it here, there's a number, so 1, 2 or 3. The attack varies depending on what one they do, or obviously what number comes up. One of them they kind of fly at you upwards, one of them they drill down below the floor and then rise up from the floor, which can be really freaking annoying. But Thunderbolt works rather nicely actually to take them out. You can use Charge Mega Buster shots, and I'm sure you can use other weapons as well, as I did there with I think Wild Coil as well. But Thunderbolt probably, which is why I've switched to it after one round, is a very good way of taking those out rather nicely. So yeah, not too bad a boss. Just make sure you don't get hit by the fire. That will drain your health like it's nobody's business. But as I say, fortunately at the moment I'm not doing too bad of a job, so I don't need to stock up on anything in particular, so we'll just press on with Wily 3. I'm going to kind of, just as a forewarning, because it might kind of be a bit abrupt a bit later, but yeah, I'm going to pause the recording at the end of it, so this video will only go up to Wily 3, because Wily 4 is a hugely freaking long level. Not from the point of actually the level itself being long, but the number of boss fights and the length of time they take. Wily 4 just goes on for an eternity. So I'm going to pause after Wily 3 and we'll call that a video. But this is Wily 3, and again, Super Adapter is going to be your friend. If you don't want to take a hit there, then you probably want to climb the right-hand side ladder, but I wasn't 100% sure, and of course, given any 50-50 decision, I am bound to get it absolutely wrong. So yeah, I picked left, and of course, if I didn't want to take damage, I should have gone right. But some of these jumps, as you can see here, without Super Adapter or certainly Rush Coil, you're not going to be able to make them anyway. So yeah. I would thoroughly recommend Super Adapter for this, as indeed pretty much the entire of the Fortress. As we defeat these Sniper Joes, we get a Cloud Man type kind of room where we've got obviously just a little bit of screen showing with, or not all the floor obviously on show. We've also got the birds, which were in Cloud stage as well, which kind of come down and attack. But yeah, you obviously, if you advance just a little bit, you'll obviously see where the floor is going to be. So as long as you take it slow and don't, you know, go gung-ho, you'll be fine. This final jump is an absolute pain in the arse, and I didn't feel like landing on the spike. So again, I decided to whip out Super Adapter and just make sure I made it safely across. There is a very annoying Met position there as well. So even if you do make it across, you're probably likely to wake the Met up, and it'll probably shoot you in the face as well anyway. So yeah. Once again here, you need something. You can't quite make that jump up to the ladder. So again, Rush Coil, Super Adapter, whatever you want. Obviously, shooting the Super Adapter through the floor is a bit of a pain in the neck, but as I say, or the ladder, but you can do it provided you get it kind of positioned nicely. But yeah, not always straightforward. Rush Coil, I think, probably would have done a very similar thing if it didn't have enough room either. This room, again, if you don't have Super Adapter, what I will say here, the jump to the left there that you just saw, you cannot make that with normal Mega Man, so you would have to take a hit. So don't kill all the enemies there if you don't have Super Adapter or Rush Coil, or well, you will have Rush Coil anyway, but Rush Jet or something. But yeah, if you take out all the enemies there, you're actually going to leave yourself a little bit kind of stuck. Certainly if you don't have Rush Jet or Super Adapter, so just be a little bit careful there. But yeah, if you don't have them, take a hit and land on the spikes without, you know, and you'll be okay. This obviously has a little count bomb section, and you can either take a high road or a low road. I decided here to take a low road. It's less risky, particularly this bit here where you kind of have to be sliding around like a maniac in order to get to the top platform. But as you just seen with the transition, there are two paths here. So let me show off the bottom half first. So we have a lovely little spike drop. That drop happens very, very quickly. Fortunately, the turns and twists when you're dropping down are not like extreme to the left or right or whatnot, but still, that comes at you really, really quickly, so you just need to know where you're going. And that's a very annoying jump there as well, I might add, particularly with obviously the spikes on the ceiling, having to make sure that you don't jump too high. We also have the crab mini-boss back from Burst stage, so again, he's exactly the same as he was before, so pummel away at him. If he shoots bubbles at you, stay on the floor. If he shoots the kind of water shots at you, try and lead the first, or jump up, lead the first two so they're on the ground, and then jump up to avoid the third one. And if he charges at you, slide over him. And as in Burst stage, once you kill him, you've got like a rising section. So you do kind of need to know where to be here. So as long as you're over on the right-hand side at this point in time, so you don't get completely screwed, you'll be okay. But yeah, you should have enough reaction time for everything else. But yeah, don't get caught on the left-hand side of the screen, or you will be absolutely stuffed. And if you want this energy pellet, obviously make use of the Mega Man's momentum when he jumps out of the water. Up out of the water area, down the ladder, and yay. This is where the paths branch, or where they meet up anyway. So let's go back and we'll try and go the higher route. I say try because I completely screwed up with Rush Jet here, so we'll try that again. Personally, I would go the top route. The higher route rather than the lower route. There's a very nice reward at the end. Obviously, you'll need to use something here, presumably Rush Jet, in order to get across. And also here, I decided I don't want to die. I slipped and slided a bit on Rush Jet, but yeah, I don't want to die. I'll avoid the rear penis spring block segment, and I'll just go all the way to the end. But as I say, here is the reward for taking the upper route. There was an energy tank on reward for the lower route, but upper route you get an energy tank, a weapons tank, and a special tank. Super, super worth it if you ask me. We do have to deal with one of those Stegosaurus enemies from Slash's stage, but again, massive slowdown by the way as well, but yeah, same strategy, and you should be able to get by it quite easily. And here is the boss of Wily 3, and this thing, it's actually weak to, let me get the weakness out of the way, it's actually weak to Slash Claw, but since that would involve getting really close and potentially taking hits by, having to be really up close to his nose, eyes or whatever and smashing away, I decided to whip out Shade Man's Noise Crush. It does a fine job. And as we kind of start the cycle here, Firstly, he will, so here we go, shoot out missiles at you. One high, kind of one low, a little bit kind of, well, depending on where Mega Man is, and they're easy enough to dodge. He'll then shoot out a giant laser. If you're over to the right-hand side of the screen, you'll avoid that, no problem. He'll also then charge to the right-hand side of the screen and shoot out those 2 bombs. But if you kind of stand a little bit in the middle between him and the edge of the screen, you'll avoid them naturally. And epic final shot coming up. Ride the missile, and we are done. So yeah, I don't know how easy in theory that may have looked, but trust me, this Wily Fortress is quite difficult. It is quite a challenge. So yeah, I don't know how easy that looked, but yeah, it's a fun challenge nonetheless. But yeah, it is quite difficult. And yeah, that is Wily 3 done. We're going on to Wily 4 next time, and so there, I will leave it there. And yeah, see you next time for the finale of Mega Man 7.